Good afternoon. This is Occupy Reports. It's the first Tuesday of the month, and here we are back, and welcome to all of our viewers and our new viewers. This afternoon, by the way, I'm Lucy, and this is Ann, and you're used to Ann being the moderator of this program, but today Ann will be the interviewee, and I'll be asking her a few questions. A little bit of background. Ann and I spend a little bit of time together several evenings a month, and our conversations get deep sometime. And one evening, the conversation went to food, and we stayed there, and Ann had lots to say. And as I listened to her, the amount of history and experience and the food that she chooses to eat herself really made an impression on me. And I said to Ann, why don't you share this? And we could do that on Occupy Reports. And she said, yeah. And so here we are today to do just that. Ann has chosen the topic, food is the crossroads of health and ecology and the economy. And I think she had something to say about how that will break up among a couple of programs at the very beginning here.
Well, there's the problem, which is what you just stated, that food is the crossroad of health, ecology, and economy that breaks down into two parts, the problem and the solution. That's many hours worth of talking, but I'm going to break it down into an hour, and so today, in half an hour, we're going to talk about the problem. And then in the next food show, we'll talk about the solution.
Okay. Well, why don't we get started about you talking about the connection between food and health?
Okay, there's three parts to what the crossroad of health, ecology, and economy. So we're going to start with health. You are what you eat. It's surprising how important what you put in your mouth is to the quality of your life. If you put healthful food in on a daily basis, you will have a healthful body. It's very simple. If you think about raising a pet or a farm animal or a plant or anything, what you get is what you have put into it. And we're no different. We are flesh and blood. So how can you expect to have a healthy body if the raw materials aren't available? It's good to put in the raw materials that your body uses to build health. The other side of that is not putting in the things that destroy health. Most of the foods that are available today are only partial foods. It's sad but true that our food choices are so restricted. So that's the health part of it in terms of, question?
Yeah, I've got a question. Explain to me and our viewers what you mean when you say raw materials.
Okay, raw materials, food, what you put in your mouth, what you drink.
Okay, all right. And they're not available?
Oh, okay, now that brings us to economy. We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get
all
there.
Right, all right. I guess I can wait. Can you all wait? And you were going to say something else about how a body can create, if what you eat is poison.
Yeah, that was the second part, was most of our food choices are just not really whole foods. They're only partial foods. And if you only eat partial food, you're only going to have partial health. We have a list of daily requirements. Even our United States government has a food pyramid that states what we have to eat within a certain time frame in order to have health. And most people, sadly, do not consume appropriate foods. So that brings us to the second thing, which is the connection between food and ecology. So the agricultural branch of the petrochemical industry is slowly destroying our environment. It is just not really an arguable statement anymore. It used to be that there was a lot of argument about that, but pretty much everyone agrees now, yes, our environment is in trouble. We have what's popularly known as climate change and global warming, etc., and the agricultural component contributing to that is huge. So monocrops require applications of petrochemicals that ruin the soil, air, and water. In order to grow a large, giant field full of one crop, you have to apply chemicals, and most of those chemicals end up either in the food you eat, the air you breathe, or the water you drink. So the soil will grow the food, the water waters the food, or goes into the aquifer where it comes out of our tap, or it evaporates into the air where we breathe it. So those chemicals that are used to grow food are not food. And our food is made up of what you put in. So what have you put in? Chemicals. Not so good. Large confined animal feeding operations, otherwise known as CAFOs, C-A-F-O, CAFO, confined animal feeding operation, require use of methods that include overcrowding, overuse of antibiotics and growth hormone, pollution of local water and air. Any one of those topics would make a whole nother show, but I'm going to be brief. Antibiotics. Overuse of antibiotics is a huge topic. Everybody knows that if you use too many antibiotics constantly, either in your body or in the meat that you eat, that your body and the animals will develop new pathogens or germs, if you want to keep it simple, that those antibiotics no longer affect. The germs evolve, and viruses evolve. So those antibiotics are no longer effective. Not to mention the fact that many of them are made out of, shall I get at my violin? Chemicals, petrochemicals that are not food. So another thing, those animals are treated horribly. They're overcrowded, they're not allowed their regular animal behavior. And then, what are those animals eating? Many of them are eating corn and soy mash that are grown using petrochemicals. So your meat is not made up of your meat, and the bones that carry the animal around are not made up of wholesome ingredients. They're made up of artificial ingredients that don't build health when you consume the meat from that animal. And if you stop and think about the welfare of the animal, most of the meat that you buy are dairy products or eggs. There's your package, and it's got this picture of a farm with green fields and a red barn and a farmer with a straw hat on. If you saw the reality of these critters crowded into these little tiny spaces, that isn't real. That creates a miserable critter, one miserable critter. Anyway, I could go on about that, but I won't. But I won't. And then, of course, the animal eats, and then it's going to poop. So what happens? So when you have confined animal feeding operations, you have giant animal waste to deal with. And what are you going to do with it? If you look at aerial photography of confined animal feeding operations, there's a giant area that's even bigger than the small area they've crowded all the cows or the pigs or the sheep or the chickens into, called a lagoon, which is full of animal poop. Nice. It pollutes the air, and it leaches into the groundwater, and you've polluted your local soil and eventually your local aquifer. Last but not least, let's talk about packaging of food, of fast and processed foods. Everything comes in a package. What's going to happen to that package? It's going to be garbage. That's all it is garbage. It makes the food look pretty, and it makes it easy to get from the grocery store to your house, and in some cases it actually preserves that food for longer than it would actually live, and then it becomes garbage. So packaging and fast and processed foods ends up as garbage. The next thing in the link between food and ecology is the health of the population, which declines. And it leads to rapidly increasing amounts of medical waste. The sicker you are, the more medicine you're going to need, and the more medical waste there is from hospitals, from clinics, and home health care. I mean, what happens to that package of Band-Aids, or that bottle that the pills came in, or the box that whatever, and it ends up as garbage. And also think about the drugs themselves. When you go to the toilet, a lot of the drugs you consume go into our water supply. That another subject that I could go on and on. So those are the first two. That's health, you are what you eat, and ecology. The garbage is caused by the way we eat. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you to talk some about the economy and food.
And here comes the third thing, the economy. So the crossroad of health and ecology, which we just covered. Now we're going to talk about the economy. The first part, oh, slow down. Can you tell I am on my soapbox?
Well, it's an important soapbox.
So the first thing I want to talk about is health care costs. If you're not healthy, you're going to need more health care, which costs more. So processed and fast foods contain too much sugar, salt, and fat deliberately because that increases sales. These foods create disease. It's not a question of, it's well known that if you eat too much salt, too much of the wrong kind of fat, too much of the wrong kind of salt, too much sugar, you're going to end up sick. They create disease, and those foods anyway. Next thing. The media saturate everyone with tempting ads for unhealthy foods. The media is owned by the agricultural and pharmaceutical branches of the petrochemical industry. They do push these unhealthy, fast, and processed foods because that causes you to spend more money. That's what they want. It's a profit motive. So of course all the media is saturated. The television, the magazines, the radio, the billboards, all the social media, Facebook, everything, all the ads. If you look at the food that's offered, what is it? It's a fatty, greasy hamburger, or a new kind of candy, or a milkshake, or a latte. If you look at the sugar in a Coca-Cola or a latte, I don't want to name a brand, I'm not supposed to name a brand, a soft drink.
Wait just a minute. You have used the word petrochemical many times since you started talking, and my head is going to petrochemical. Is that like a derivative of the petroleum industry?
Yes.
Oh, all right. More environmental impact.
Much more environmental impact.
So they've got their fingers
in everything.
Okay.
Yeah, on we go. So next thing that has to do with the connection between food and economy. Doctors are not educated to healthful eating because medical schools are funded by the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry funds medical schools. They would lose money if folks do not buy the drugs or need surgery. If you eat well, you don't need as many drugs and you don't need as much surgery. Therefore, the profit motive pushes people to sell products that do not promote health. Okay, so that's healthcare costs of eating poorly. So the personal costs of food shopping. When you go to the grocery store, the healthy food is just not available. Grocery stores and restaurants, when you go in, the healthful foods are not available in volumes large enough to create lower prices for the owners of those grocery stores and those restaurants. So of course they're going to buy the food that they can afford to feed you. So why is that? Well, in the first place, folks don't demand or buy enough healthful foods because, of course, they've been programmed by the media to want the stuff that isn't healthy for them. Second, farms do not provide enough healthful foods to the grocery stores and restaurants because they are subsidized by our government to produce foods, including meat and dairy, that require petrochemicals. That's a whole nother topic. But It's a very important topic that the farms are profit motive drives them to produce the cheapest thing in the fastest way, and there have been programmed to believe that the use of chemical fertilizers and insecticides and pesticides and herbicides and soil conditioners, etc., is the way to make the most money. However, if they kill off all the people, nobody's going to buy their food. So there you have it. That's the crossroads of health, ecology, and economy. It's a giant problem. It reaches into every aspect of our lives. And for many years, I would say about 40, I'm giving away my age, but I have been focused on how food creates or destroys health. I was sickly growing up as a child. I got tired of it. I decided I wanted to be a healthy, robust person, and I have pretty much been. And I did that by choosing healthy food and discovering how difficult it is to find the food that you want in the grocery store, at the restaurant. And then you look at TV or the billboards or read a magazine, and you're just being pushed to create ill health. And then you go to the doctor, and his solution is a drug or a surgery. It's not food. So I pursued trying to educate people about choosing healthy food. And I realized that those people, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They have television, they read magazines, they look at billboards. The media is educating them to choose unhealthy foods. They go to their doctor is educating them to ask for drugs and surgery, not a healthy eating plan. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. And it all adds up to poor, very poor food choices by the population, which is fueled by profit motives. Large industries who own the media, the healthcare system, and the agricultural system. I repeat, large industries own the media, the healthcare system, and the agricultural system, and their motive is profit, not your health.
So, where does this take you if you don't think you can educate people?
Well, for years I wanted to educate people, and I think many people are waking up. The organic food is the largest single, the fastest growing single category of food in the grocery industry. The problem with that is that once an organic food becomes popular, then that brand is bought by a large company who then makes profit from the sale of that organic food, and they spend most of that money promoting the unhealthy food. So even buying healthy food promotes unhealthy food. But if the entire population suddenly stopped eating fast and processed foods and started eating healthfully, our economy would fall apart. So many people would be out of business. Grocery stores, restaurants, farmers, hospitals. Not good. This is not good. We can't all just go out and start eating healthfully. Although I really hope we do. I really hope we do. That brings us to the solution to the problem, which is a whole another TV show.
You know, I'm struck, living as long as I have, by how many things have changed. When you talked about subsidies, I was thinking, but when the subsidies were first set up, I think maybe it was back in the 80s, and I was
Before
trying to
that,
subtract
yeah.
40 from that and seeing where you became aware. It may have had something to do with your age, but they were, and, you know, how did this all change? You know, how did food suddenly become so expensive? I have in my head what it cost when I first had a home of my own and was going out doing the grocery shopping, and I can still remember what I paid for this and that, and when I see the price of things at the grocery store, it's overwhelming.
Well, it's not so much the price itself, because the price of everything has gone up.
Yes.
It's the percentage of your income that you spend on food that has gone up. But so has the percentage of healthcare. I think one leads to the other, and of course that boils down to the economy. And everything points to, it all kind of circles around and comes to money in politics. Regulation of all the industries and the production, the means of production. And I don't think they should be owned publicly. I don't think that's the answer. I think the regulation of those means of production is the answer. And the rules and the regulations have now, in this day and age, you know, going on 40 years, I've seen it happen slowly but surely. The people who are supposed to regulate the industry are the people who profit from that industry. They are not motivated to regulate for the health of the population. They're motivated to form regulations that increase their profit. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. How we doing on time here? I think we probably better.
We better start winding it up.
Yeah, yeah. We have had the last few episodes of Occupy Reports have had spokespersons for candidates in the primaries this year. And
For District 11 of North Carolina.
For District 11 only, that's right. And we've had 3 spokesmen for 3 Democratic candidates. The Republican Party candidate declined to send a spokesperson. Meadows says that he will not do an interview, but will debate the person who wins the primary for the Democratic Party, and then there are 2 other parties who will have
2 other candidates.
2 other candidates who will be in the election, and we will interview them. Between now and the primaries, we have already set up an interview, and these will be extra segments of Occupy Reports on April the 17th and April the 24th.
And there may be one on the 10th.
It's possible that next Tuesday there will be one too, and we'll find a way to let you know about that. Stay tuned and checking out the upcoming programs with Mountain Stream TV, please.
Please.
And can you think of anything else we need to tell everybody?
Well, there is another Republican running, Archard, and his, you know, he's not contacted me back, so I'm assuming that he doesn't intend to.
And
of
he
course
has
I
also
haven't-
said that he's running so that there will be someone to fill the shoes of Meadows.
Meadows, if
Yeah.
he's tapped to
If
go to
he's-
the executive committee of the White House. There's also a libertarian, what's his name? Somebody junior.
And the Green Party is now
the
gotten
Green
access to the ballot.
So there'll be a
Will
Green,
be.
a Libertarian, 2 Republicans, and 3 Democrats. That's
on the May.
all running
primary.
for the same District 11 representative to the U.S. Congress from our little neighborhood. I've tried to get them all on here, but anyway.
And one of the things when you talk about food that strikes me, and I'm going to go back to our topic here, is that Anne calls the food we're supposed to eat healthful food. She doesn't use the media description of healthy food. She says healthful food, and that says to me one has to be quite intentional these days to know the difference in the kind of food you're buying, to be sure that it's organic, that there are no antibiotics, no GMOs induced in your animals or your food, and it takes a lot of time and it takes a tremendous amount of intentionality. But I hope that what Anne has shared with you today has tweaked your interest to a severe degree. Spending time with Anne myself has certainly made me become more conscious, and I congratulate you on that. I'm nowhere near there, but I certainly know when I'm buying something that I shouldn't be buying.
I'm not there either, and I know when I'm buying something
Right,
that's not
right,
good for me.
right.
I go in a restaurant with a group of friends, and I'm hungry, and I buy a meal. I try to get something good, something healthful, but you know, it's hard. It's hard. But we will talk about the solution. Yes, we will.
Yes, the next time there's an available date, which could be something like May the...
Probably be May.
Yeah, the
First
first
Tuesday
Tuesday
in
in May.
Yeah.
We thank you for showing up today and sharing your time with us. Occupy regularly airs on the first Tuesday each month, but let me remind you again that we already have people to interview on the 17th. We'll have Philip Price, and on the 24th,
Scott Donaldson.
Scott Donaldson, thank you.
And hopefully Steve Woodsmall on either the 10th of April or the, whatever it is, first Tuesday of May.
First Tuesday in May.
Yeah, whatever it is. So, and don't forget to go to www.northcarolinawethepeople.org and
Sign the petition, and there's another spot at the top of the menu that says send a message, and that means send a message to the members of the Rules Committee, both the Senate and the House Rules Committee.
of
Every
North
single
Carolina.
one of them, in North Carolina only. Every single one of these representatives will
And
get the
senators.
message at the same time and tell them to move our legislation out of the Rules Committee and for a vote.
Onto the floor, yes. We want to get it on the ballot this fall so that the people of North Carolina have the choice to say, no, we want that an amendment to the United States Constitution that clearly states that corporations do not have constitutional rights and money is not free speech.
And this is an opportunity, the first time the citizens of North Carolina have gotten to vote on this issue. And that issue, if it were passed, will be sent on to the U.S. Congress, where there's a bill already waiting in the House. That's House Joint Resolution 48, and it has 54 people, legislators already who are, that was last Friday when I checked, it could be more now,
And if
who have signed
that
on.
referendum passes, that'll make North Carolina the 20th state who, as a state,
No.
as it has,
No, it won't. No,
Oh, I thought it
there's loopholes in some of the other ones, but we want to be the next one, and
We wanna be
ours
the next
does
one.
fit the We the People amendment. Thank you and goodbye.